Tonight on Currents News, the pandemic exposing a digital divide cutting through New York City. Classes are online, but that doesn't mean virtual classrooms are full. What Catholic schools are doing to get kids connected.
We don't want any child to be left behind because they don't have a device.
Pope Francis leading the way. Italy gets back to business early. And new developments coming out of a U.S. lab. Vaccine trials are showing new promise. Plus, all eyes on Georgia, one of the first states to reopen. Now churches are about to welcome people back to the pews. What precautions are they taking? And getting food to those in need. Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens delivers almost 20,000 meals in just one day. The news starts right now. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. With millions of people living under lockdown in New York City, getting online is how kids learn, people work, and connections with loved ones are made. But there are many without solid internet access. The Diocese of Brooklyn is stepping up to make a difference. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has the story.
More than a quarter of New York City's 8 million residents are not connected to the internet. That's according to data from the mayor's office. And only a few weeks ago, AIDAN and ALYSSA Osorio were part of that population.
It's been okay, but it's also been tough.
The siblings were using devices that didn't have the bandwidth to connect them to their classes at Our Lady of Perpetual Help in South Ozone Park. They were missing school.
I was worried about how we were going to be able to spend a little bit extra on iPads if needed. So I felt like our prayers were answered when I received that email from the teachers.
Jessica Medina, AIDAN and ALYSSA'S mom, said a weight was lifted when she got that email offering her kids iPads. AIDAN and ALYSSA'S iPads come from a device grant through DeSales Media, NetTV's parent company. They even come with internet access, free of charge.
We don't want any child to be left behind because they don't have a device.
Gina Kreinchich is the director of educational media services for DeSales Media Group. Over the last 3 years, the device grant has allowed her to give out more than 10,000 iPads and tablets.
Even if they do have internet and a computer, we're finding that there still is difficulty for everyone to get on and do what they need to do during this crisis.
The latest data from the city comptroller's office shows low-income families struggle disproportionately with lack of internet access, a problem that existed since the debut of the World Wide Web and exacerbated by the pandemic. 504,000 households across New York City have no internet subscription, and more than 1/3 of families making less than $20,000 a year have no access to internet at all. The latest data from the mayor's office shows the number of people in New York City without a broadband connection at home is equivalent to the population of Houston. We reached out to the Department of Education about its plan to close the gap in internet access, but our request was not answered, leaving many worried what will happen come September.
Would it be kinetic or potential?
But that worry is behind those in Catholic schools throughout Brooklyn and Queens. DeSales set out on a mission to give every single student in need an iPad to learn with, a mission they're close to accomplishing.
If they don't have the device in their hand, they're missing that connection.
With devices in hand, the Osorio family is keeping that connection with their school community and their faith.
In Jesus' name we pray.
Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
House Democrats are trying to cut out some emergency pandemic benefits for Catholic schools. The new $3 trillion bill that cleared the House last week would roll back funding for some services. Also, there's no tuition assistance for Catholic and non-public schools. Trenton's Bishop David O'Connell is urging Catholics to make their voices heard. So far, more than 5,000 have done so. Italy is emerging from stay-at-home orders after months on lockdown. Pope Francis returned to St. Peter's Basilica for a simple ceremony for the 100th anniversary of the birth of St. John Paul II. Only a small number of people were permitted to attend the service. At the Mass, a choir of nuns sang the World Youth Day anthem. All across Rome, churches are opening their doors once again, and many other businesses are doing the same ahead of schedule. Melissa Butts has the story from the Eternal City.
Italy sped up its reopening by 2 weeks with restaurants, bars, hairdressers, and shopping welcoming clients. Masses in the majority Catholic country also resumed. St. Peter's Basilica is open once again, following Italy's measures to recommence Mass. Volunteers from the Order of Malta measure pilgrims' temperatures before they enter the nearly empty basilica. Public Mass isn't being held at the Vatican, but other churches in the country saw many changes. For one, hand sanitizer greets faithful at the door. Communion is also different. Priests in masks and gloves are encouraged to walk person to person to give out the Eucharist. Despite these variations, Catholics are overjoyed. I'm thrilled to return to Mass and to pray the Rosary. As soon as I entered the church, I gave thanks to God and cried tears of joy. Store and restaurant owners, desperate to resume their work, have a different experience. They say normal won't return until there are tourists. In one sense, there's hope to re-begin, but in another, it's very sad. It's terrible to see this street, which is usually alive with tourism, so empty. Barbers, on the other hand, are full of work, but are finding the new rules and masks a bit difficult. On a couple of clients, I accidentally cut through the elastic and cut off their mask. It's horrible. Each store owner said they can only afford 1 or 2 employees working at a time. In more than 70 days of lockdown, many said the government has not delivered the promised financial help, and they are struggling. What Italians really want is for tourists to return to their country. Flights within the EU are expected to re-begin in June, so at least Europeans can spend part of their summer in Italy. In Rome, Melissa Butts, Currents News.
Stay with us for more good news about churches reopening. Archbishop Gregory HARTMAYER, the newly installed leader of the Archdiocese of Atlanta, is with us. He'll tell us his plans to resume public liturgies in a state that drew national attention. That's still ahead in this newscast. New York City is inching back to life, and Mayor Bill de Blasio is targeting the first half of June for activities to resume. His honor was in Flushing Meadows Park over the weekend to hand out face masks to residents. Today, he said he expected the Big Apple to hit all the health benchmarks required for allowing non-essential businesses to open up. The big sticking points right now are the number of hospitalizations and hospital bed capacity. In the rest of the U.S., all but 2 states are taking steps to end stay-at-home orders. Americans across the country took advantage of the relaxed guidelines over the weekend. Many restaurants, even casinos, are welcoming customers. There was a practice run for New Jersey's beaches this weekend before they opened statewide for Memorial Day weekend. Some places are seeing spikes in coronavirus cases, while other states are reporting that new cases are declining. There's exciting news tonight about the race to find a COVID-19 vaccine. A biotech company is conducting new trials that are showing promise to combat the outbreak. And if the good results continue, a vaccine might be available sooner than expected. Karen Kaifa has the story.
As the world works to find a safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine, manufacturer Moderna says it is seeing promising results in human trials.
These are really good news for us and everybody that's been watching for this day.
The biotech company, in partnership with the National Institutes of Health, measured antibodies in 8 people it vaccinated, and all 8 developed neutralizing antibodies.
These antibodies were proven to be able to block the ability of the virus to infect cells. We are already seeing an immune response at the level of people who've been infected with this virus and are believed now not to be susceptible to further disease.
It's encouraging, but we still don't know if people who have been infected with the virus are immune from it in the future. So it's not clear whether vaccination will provide total immunity. So far, Moderna has vaccinated between 60 and 100 participants. Starting in July, the company plans to begin to conduct large-scale clinical trials, which typically consist of tens of thousands of people. If those studies are successful, the company hopes to have a vaccine on the market between January and June of next year.
This is really a very first important step in the journey towards having a vaccine available for the people who need it the most.
As researchers work at lightning-fast speeds, medical experts caution it may be some time before a COVID-19 vaccine is perfected.
If you are going to work out a perfect vaccine, it will take years and years.
In Washington, Karen Kaifa, Currents News.
Here are some more headlines. The S&P 500 rebounded more than 3% today, Wall Street's best showing in about 6 weeks. The move higher comes as many of the world's economies loosen restrictions on commerce. At the same time, oil prices are going up once again, nearing the $33 a barrel mark. Demand for the black gold is increasing in many places, especially China. The Federal Reserve is signaling it has more firepower to put into recovery efforts. Chairman Jerome Powell is pledging there is really no limit to the help that the central bank can provide. A Saudi gunman in a terror attack is accused in a terror attack on a Florida military base, apparently had significant ties to Al-Qaeda. Mohammed al-Shamrani, a member of the Royal Saudi Air Force, killed 3 U.S. sailors at a naval air station, Pensacola, last year. U.S. investigators uncovered the Al-Qaeda connection after the FBI was able to unlock one of his iPhones.
The phones contained information previously unknown to us that definitively establishes al-Shamrani's significant ties to al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, not only before the attack, but before he even arrived in the United States.
The FBI says it unlocked the phone without the help of Apple. Over in Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu has been sworn in as prime minister for the 5th time. This officially begins a new unity government after a long political crisis. Former rival Benny Gantz was sworn in as alternate prime minister. Under a power-sharing agreement, Gantz will replace Netanyahu in November of next year. There's a lot more news headed your way. He's not even 2 weeks into his new job, and he's dealing with reopening churches during a pandemic. We'll speak with the new Archbishop of Atlanta. Plus, because of this event, families were able to put food on their tables. A lot of food. We'll tell you how much was given away and where. And sticker shock at the grocery store. It all comes down to supply and demand. We'll explain.
Now you can help us put your faith in the news. The next time you capture a newsworthy event, send us your pictures or video. It's easy. Go to netny.tv/send us, and you may see your submission on Currents News.
This is the announcement many of you have been anxious to hear. We have built a plan to slowly allow people to re-enter our parish buildings.
Some good news from the Archdiocese of Atlanta. Pentecost Sunday, otherwise known as the birthday of the Catholic Church, will also mark the day churches there open their doors. The move by their leader, Archbishop Gregory HARTMAYER, comes almost 2 weeks after he was installed in a less than orthodox ceremony. Archbishop HARTMAYER joins us now on the phone. And Archbishop, you just made the announcement that churches will reopen on Pentecost, which falls on May 31st this year. The governor of Georgia, though, actually gave churches the go-ahead last month to reopen, and he was criticized for reopening the state, some thought maybe too early. But you released guidelines for the churches. Can you outline some of them?
Sure, Christine. They're the basic social distance precautions, using a face mask, being careful not to touch anything, to not gather in groups either before or after Mass, and to receive communion in the hand, which will be a little bit more of a protection for those who are distributing the Eucharist.
Sure.
Families that will come into church will limit the number, of course, that can be seated. There won't be anybody standing around. Some parishes may use some kind of a reservation system, which they could use the computer and choose the Mass that they want to attend, and if that Mass is full, they may be told that they will need to go to an overflow room where it'll be broadcast live in that room. Or if a parish does not have an additional space, then they would be asked to choose a second choice for their Mass.
Okay, Archbishop, Catholics have been wanting to return to Mass for a while, including priests in your own diocese. They sent this message to the faithful. Let's listen in.
We want to tell you how much we miss you, and we are looking forward to the day when we can get back together again.
And to all of you, everyone watching this, know that we miss seeing you at church.
Stay healthy and know that brighter days are ahead.
So how did they respond to the news that churches are reopening?
Well, first of all, they were in on the decision. There was a council of consultors that I called together. There were 12, and they represented the various geographical gatherings and pockets of our archdiocese throughout the Atlanta area.
Now, you were installed as Archbishop almost 2 weeks ago. It was a different kind of ceremony thanks to the pandemic. How did you feel about that, and what's it been like taking on this role during the virus crisis?
It was very strange to have Mass and to preach to an empty cathedral. But I know that people were watching in great numbers. And so I hope that they were able to hear my sincerity and my excitement at the same time about being here and coming back to Atlanta to be their Archbishop.
All right, Archbishop Gregory HARTMAYER, thank you for joining us and good luck with the reopening.
Thanks, Christine. Good talking with you.
Public masses are not being celebrated in the Diocese of Brooklyn right now. Instead, Net TV is airing the liturgy in 8 languages. Here's the schedule of live masses for this Thursday, the Ascension of the Lord. 8 a.m. Korean, 9 Creole, 10 Italian, 11 English, 12 Polish, 1:30 p.m. Spanish, 3 Mandarin, and 4 p.m. Igbo. Net TV is New York's Catholic station. You can find it on Verizon's Fios Channel 48, on Optimum's Channel 30, and on Spectrum's Channel 97. The Mass schedule is online at netny.tv. One of the biggest food giveaways since this pandemic started took place Friday at St. Bartholomew's Church in Elmhurst, Queens. Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens handed out 4,800 bags of food to the hungry. That equates to nearly 17,600 meals. The head of Catholic Charities, Monsignor Alfred Lopinto, was grateful for the volunteers' sacrifice.
And for that, again, we offer you our sincere thanks. It is a privilege to be here with you today.
Catholic Charities has provided more than 71,000 meals to the people of Brooklyn and Queens since late March. The food giveaways come at a time when low-income families need them most. Prices at the grocery store are soaring, and the markup goes down every aisle. Diane Gallagher gives us a breakdown.
If it felt like you were paying more on those grocery shopping trips last month, it wasn't your imagination. Grocery store prices spiked the most that they had in 1 month since 1974, nearly 50 years. And look, we're talking everything here. Fruits, vegetables, cereal, meat, dairy, it all went up. Eggs jumped by 16%. And of course, this happened as unemployment skyrocketed. Many Americans are dealing with much smaller budgets right now, and for some of them, food insecurity for the very first time. Now, economists tell CNN that the grocery store sticker shock, it stems mostly from this explosion in demand and a supply chain that was really slow to react. So as those stay-at-home orders went into effect, schools and restaurants started closing. People started cooking at home a lot. At the same time, the meat processing plants started shutting down because the workers, who were mostly black and brown, immigrants, refugees, became sick at an alarming rate with COVID-19. More than 30 of them have died from the virus so far. Now, the nation's top union has blasted Kroger's decision to end its hero bonus, pointing out the pandemic's not over. At least 65 grocery store workers have died from COVID-19. That extra $2 per hour that employees were getting for being on the front lines, well, that ends this weekend. But Kroger said it is instead offering an up to $400 thank you payment. Now, restaurant owners are also dealing with this sticker shock here as they work to reopen across the country. Wholesale beef prices hit record numbers this week. One restaurant owner told us, if I can reopen, I'm probably going to have to increase my menu prices if this does not change, which doesn't bode well in this economy for an already struggling industry.
That was Diane Gallagher reporting. The good news is some food prices have dropped. Ham, butter, prepared salads, and cupcakes have all gone down. Still to come on Currents News, since they can't walk across the stage, they drove in a parade. We'll take you to a different end-of-year celebration for an all-girls Catholic school. Also ahead, an entire community comes out to celebrate one high school senior who beat the odds to get to graduation. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Distance learning couldn't stop seniors from FONTBONNE Hall Academy from celebrating their last day of virtual classes. They took to the streets of Bay Ridge in this graduation car parade, the last event of their Senior Spirit Week. The students from the all-girl Catholic school say they are sad to be leaving.
Congratulations, class of 2020. I love you so much. We're going to get through this together, I promise. I love you all so much. Thank you for everything. Miss you all. That's 4 years of my life.
FONTBONNE's principal says the school's milestone events like graduation mass and senior day will take place online, but prom and graduation will hopefully be rescheduled for August before everyone leaves for college. Like the ladies from FONTBONNE, high school graduation is often a highlight for young people across the country, one that now looks far different from what they imagined. But one young woman in Florida never thought she'd make it to the big day. As Megan Cruz reports, her community found a way to help her celebrate, defying the odds.
You've seen these car parades for medical workers, loved ones in nursing homes, and kids stuck at home. This one is for 21-year-old Serena Champagne, who against all odds just completed her senior year at DeLand High School.
She did it. She graduated. And it took a lot to get her here.
Her mom, Jamie, explains.
She's missing a chromosome, essentially.
And that missing microscopic DNA molecule has meant huge issues for this vibrant girl.
She's struggled since the day she was born.
Seizures since before she was even 1. At 11, she had a heart transplant.
Your heart was sick, and they cut the old one out, and what'd they do? Threw it away. And you got your angel heart?
Yeah. 9 years later, and her immune system.
It's in the beginning of starting to kind of attack her heart.
And her arteries.
They're thickening from the inside out. We can continue to do these options to extend life. From a selfish standpoint, I would keep you forever. But I know that, you know, it's not fair, and it's a hard thing to have to go through, to be poked and prodded and sick all the time.
One day I will go heaven.
And one day you're gonna go to heaven.
On May 5th, Jamie decided to share her daughter's story on the Volusia County Adopt a Senior Facebook page. It's so people can do something nice for students since COVID-19 stole their final year. She asked for people to just comment with some kind words and prayers. The community decided that was not enough, that Serena deserved a special graduation just for her.
I'm floored, jaw-dropped. I never thought we would have got a response like this.
Congratulations to you! Was that the coolest thing ever?
Yes.
So happy. No.
Megan Cruz filing that report. About 100 cars took part in the parade, all decked out in pink, which is Serena's favorite color. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.